Welcome to Generation AI, the show where we explore how AI is reshaping our generation. I'm Derek Staahl. On the show today, using AI in government. We'll speak with one of the governor's AI advisors about where she'd like to see more AI in state government and where she thinks humans should stay firmly in control. Plus, hitting Control Z on layoffs. Some research suggests companies are laying off workers only to hire them right back. We'll hear from a jobs analyst at Robert Half about the trends they're seeing when it comes to these AI boomerangs. First, let's get to the headlines. There's a new type of AI-powered surveillance tower deployed along the U.S.-Mexico border, and it uses technology from a Phoenix-based company. These autonomous surveillance towers from General Dynamics are 12 to 18 stories high, and they're designed to identify and track smugglers with minimal oversight by humans. These towers use software from Phoenix-based Pure Tech Systems. General Dynamics says they autonomously monitor their environment and prioritize alerts to allow Border Patrol to focus on critical field operations. In the future, the company says these towers could be equipped with counter-drone technology. There are about 24 of these autonomous towers deployed along the San Diego stretch of the border. Google is taking action after a wave of AI lawsuits, including one that claimed its chatbot, Gemini, contributed to a man's suicide. Google says it will update Gemini to introduce a Help is Available tool when users are talking about mental health. The chatbot will direct users to mental health and crisis hotline resources when the AI suspects they might harm themselves. The company also says it plans to invest $30 million over the next 3 years into global crisis hotlines. Anthropic says it has created its most powerful model yet, one so powerful it can't release it to the public. The company says this model, called Mythos, is a cybersecurity risk. It says Mythos has already found thousands of unknown high-security vulnerabilities and bugs in every major operating system, meaning it could be used by hackers if it fell into the wrong hands. The company says one vulnerability in an open-source operating system that's all over the place had been undetected for 27 years. Anthropic says it's sharing Mythos with more than 40 of the world's biggest tech companies to find and patch vulnerabilities, including Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Illegal dumping is a big problem in some communities where people leave trash and debris where they should not. A community in Silicon Valley is considering an AI-powered solution. The company, called Airbits, offers drones that are trained to fly over city streets, detect illegal dumping sites, measure them, describe what's in the trash piles, and then report it all to 311 for public works crews to clean it up. It means residents don't have to go out and report dumping sites themselves. Oakland is considering a 6-month pilot program with this company. Some residents say anything would be better than the status quo.
Let's get the data and let's get it from a bird's eye view, because none of us can do it. But we have the tech. It's the Silicon Valley. Let's use the tech.
It's just to capture trash on public right-of-way. It's not to do any type of criminal activity to catch someone dumping. It's just to identify, to be proactive so they can go out and pick it up faster.
The company says the drones do not record any sort of personally identifiable information. They say the drones can fly 45 miles an hour up to 400 feet in the air. Researchers are working on a way to help patients who have suffered a traumatic brain injury begin to regain their ability to speak. Gabe Brown is one of those patients. Just hours into his honeymoon, he had a catastrophic slip and fall, which left him in a coma. After years of therapy, he's fully aware mentally, but he cannot speak. Researchers at Penn State University are now working on sensor-driven technology to interpret what Gabe's brain wants to say but cannot. It's meaningful work for everybody involved, for the researchers and for Brown's wife.
You know, this wasn't a program that was already there. They heard about Gabe's story and they put all this together, so it means a lot.
It is a tiny little hope to help someone, help a friend, and it's snowballed into a lot bigger series of projects.
Using old voicemails, school projects, even their wedding vows, they hope to one day match his voice and recreate it. Coming up, we're seeing layoffs from AI, but why are some companies reversing course and hiring people back? We'll explore the idea of AI boomerangs when Generation AI continues. Welcome back to Generation AI. Some new research from Goldman Sachs finds AI is eliminating about 16,000 U.S. jobs per month on net. But a surprising number of companies appear to be laying off workers only to hire them right back. My next guest is with talent solutions and business consulting firm Robert Half. Travis Laird is a Phoenix area jobs expert. Travis, welcome to Generation AI. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Derek. Love the show.
Hey, thank you so much. So you guys did a study and found that about 29% of companies in your survey had laid off workers after implementing AI, only to then hire them back. This is a concept, I guess, called AI boomerangs. What are you seeing locally here in the Phoenix area?
Yeah, 29 to 50% of employers are going to bring back someone that they let go over the last few years. What I think it is a little bit of a softening of the market 2 years ago, companies starting to implement AI, and now seeing kind of the value add, how they can combine the human experience, the human need with the AI element.
Do you think CEOs have misread where AI capability is? I mean, is that why we're seeing some of this correction, these, hiring these folks back?
I think it's more of an assessment. So I think maybe they overestimate or overanticipated how much AI could help with certain roles. But now that they're a few years into it, they're like, we need a human touch. We need a human experience right here.
You know, what's interesting about the Phoenix market is there are a lot of those sort of entry-level, tech jobs. We have a lot of the call centers for tech companies. It would seem to me that those folks would potentially be the most exposed to AI job displacement. What's your assessment of that?
So I'll give you a really good story, and it's from 2023, but it still applies today. IKEA automated about 50% of their phone calls. That left 8,500 employees at jeopardy of losing their job. Standard company would say, I'm sorry, we have a better solution today. These calls are automated, they can be taken. We're getting the same outcomes with our customers. What they decided to do is these 8,500 employees, loyal to the brand, knew the catalog perfectly. They were passionate about like, hey, we would recommend this product for you. Using AI, which could recommend where the product should go in someone's kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, they then retooled these 8,500 employees to become interior designers, and it's now the fastest growing revenue stream for IKEA.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a way of sort of shifting company resources. What are you saying? What is Robert Half saying when, businesses call up and they say, hey, we need some advice on how to implement AI? What kind of advice are you giving local CEOs and leaders?
Yeah, I would say, what are you using it for? And if it can accomplish the task faster, awesome. I think about my industry. So where I was just even a few years ago prior to AI. I now have tools available to me that help with administrative tasks that they do the job far better than I can. It will take a task that would take me a week to do, and it'll do it in minutes for me. Whether that's identifying a candidate. Good example, I'm doing a CFO search for a company. I know I'm gonna have to go out of market. I can use my platform to help track down, using our interview notes, using the resume to help identify a candidate that sits on the East Coast. A couple of years ago, that would have been very labor intensive.
Yeah, it can really speed up some of those tasks. I want to show a full screen we made of some of the other findings that Robert Half has done in your surveys. 54% of companies expect AI to drive a net increase in jobs over the next 2 years. 51% say AI will directly fuel hiring. This year, 49% are shifting hiring towards strategic higher skill roles. That seems to be a rather overall optimistic take of the impact of AI. What's your assessment when you see these numbers?
Yeah, there's two sides of the coin. I recently did a LinkedIn survey on this, and you still see kind of a split down the middle between those embracing AI in their businesses and those still reserved or just kind of, I would say, behind. To me, the true accelerator is human plus AI equals revenue growth, equals startups. If you're going to grow today, AI is not something like a nice to have or, hey, I've heard about it. You got to embrace the tool. To me, it's just an open-mindedness about how I'm going to grow my business the next few years.
What do you say to job seekers? How do they upskill? What should they be highlighting, working on in this era of AI?
One of my first questions talking with a candidate is, how are you using AI today? How are you using it at your most recent employer? How are you using it for personal development? I ask that question because I want to know, are they curious about what future, just how are they going to upskill themselves as the years go on? I was working with a recent college grad last week, and we did a deep dive, and it's very interesting today with today's generation AI, which is, we built out his resume. He had a template of a resume, and I'm like, this needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Let's get on ChatGPT, have something better put together for you. I want you to real-time talk about what you would like your resume to look like based off your actual experience. He was able to articulate some really cool things about his background that companies would want to know about. It's not on your resume, though.
Yes.
So I think that there's an aspect there where just efficiency of putting things together. LinkedIn marketing, we switched over to his LinkedIn profile. Let's update everything for you. Tell LinkedIn what you're looking for. Tell them what type of job you're looking for. Then let's translate that to your job search. It's just more efficient.
Yeah, I love that advice. I feel like job candidates that are using AI to kind of interview them, act as an interviewer, ask me questions, help me figure out this resume. That's a great idea. I have heard some anecdotal reports, though, from hiring managers that people are over AIing their resume. They're letting AI kind of, write these bland resumes, and it's sort of burying recruiters in the shuffle. What do you think of that?
So it's the downside to a tool that allows for easy volume.
Yeah.
I will go through applicants over the weekend, and I'm like, that's the same resume I just saw. That's the same resume, same template. You've got to make it personal. So tell it that. Be very direct. I would say the flooding of candidates into an inbox can be overwhelming for a client. I have more clients reaching out to me today that say, hey, we've got this opening. I have 300 resumes from yesterday. I don't even know if these candidates are qualified. I don't know if they're real. Can you help me out? I'll forward you all the resumes, but I need you to take a look. I can spot now, and we have tools that help us with this as well, spot resumes that probably misrepresent themselves. That's the biggest
using
challenge.
AI to spot
Correct.
AI.
Correct.
Oh, wow. It's like the singularity has come full circle.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Travis Laird is a Phoenix area jobs expert with Robert Half. Travis, thank you so much for coming in.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, much more to come here on Generation AI. Should AI be involved in decisions about the foster care system, or who gets unemployment benefits? We'll hear from a member of the governor's AI committee when Generation AI continues. Right now, states across the country are scrambling to figure out how to deploy artificial intelligence in government operations and how to do it responsibly. My next guest is one of the 19 people tasked with building Arizona's first statewide blueprint on AI policy. She's a computer scientist and an AI researcher. She's the CEO of an AI consulting firm called DS Innovation and the founder of a STEAM nonprofit called Strong Ties. Dr. Loretta Cheeks, thank you so much for being on Generation AI.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek.
So you joined the governor's AI steering committee last year, and your job is to basically figure out how do we implement more AI in government operations? Where do you think the state should adopt more AI, and where do you think humans should stay, strictly in charge?
Absolutely. Well, just starting off, AI is not one single thing. It's not just a large language model. It really goes the gamut from providing capabilities from comprehension to sight and recognition in speech and language. And so when you think about that and where the government should rest its, it's not just the government, it also spans companies as well, but where it should be applied, definitely AI comprehension and language. You can apply simple tasks to perform those duties. That's anything from workflow, from the office automation.
Sure, helping write emails, helping do,
yes, exactly, from text summarization, document summarization, workflows, all of that. Even from cybersecurity and testing for penetration, it can actually work well. From a comprehension and things that are heavier on the AI, and that means anything that a decision is made to harm, that may harm individuals, we have to think deeper about that and what we need to do to make sure that risk is accounted for.
Yes.
So that's surveillance, that's, as you talked in your show, military operations using precision before, and enforcement. All of those physical consequences, I look at them as we need to make sure that we have the guardrails in place to make sure policies make sure our society is safe.
Last year, the state of Arizona passed a law that basically said that insurance companies can't deny people's insurance coverage based on AI alone. It has to have a doctor involved. It sounds like you're in favor of that kind of human-in-the-loop framework when there's like a decision being made.
Absolutely. It's no different than I used to work in aviation, critical systems. We have a great model for that. When you're talking about critical systems or things that will alter a person's life, child welfare, determining who gets benefits, or as you just say, using behavior data to detect a risk score and applying it to someone, at that time, yes, they should not be the sole responsible.
Right.
The human is really good, as Dr. Cook said, at making decisions, and we should definitely keep them in the loop.
So the steering committee's recommendations are expected to come out sometime this spring. Of all the questions that you've sort of been working through, all the topics, which one do you think is going to have the most impact on folks at home?
I would say probably safe and accountability.
Yeah.
Most individuals, when they think of AI, first of all, you have to ask, when are they encounter it? Most people use social media.
Sure.
Right? If you think of just who's impacted. People want to know, if it bothered me, who do I contact?
Yeah.
If it's harming me, who's accountable? And how are we putting the guardrails in place to make sure that it is what we call FAT, fair, accountable, transparent, trustworthy, and also it's explainable.
Yes, that's I know that's a big interpretability is really important, being able to understand how a decision was made. Let's talk about education. You do a lot of work in that field. You're the founder of Strong Ties, as I mentioned, where you help bring AI education to underserved communities. What does successful AI education look like? Because I think a lot of schools are wrestling with this question right now.
Well, we need to move from fear to anticipation. It's here. It will not go anywhere. So that's one thing. And making sure that educators know what's possible. How do you use AI for learning? That's a big deal. Right now I'm grappling with the question of how do you use AI to help students to think critically about what they see, deep fakes, generative AI, do they even recognize it? I am a proponent for changing the model from what have happened in the last 20 years, which is to seat AI under computer science only, but literally braiding it and threading it through all disciplines, like an AI literacy just like English literacy would be, so that everyone can have access. Really opening it up, because if you do what we've done before, only a few more people, and it probably wouldn't have been me, that would be available to that. And it really should be over the gamut, from the fireman to the logistics person to those who want to be in HVAC or whatever, construction, whatever the gamut is, AI literacy is needed because it literally is impacting everything that we do.
Yeah, and I think what's fascinating about that, so let's say you do use AI in a bunch of different subject types, in English class, in whatever class. How do you teach kids the critical thinking skills without encouraging them to essentially cheat on their tests?
Exactly, and so helping a student to know input out, trash in is trash out.
Right.
That's one thing you start with, and also helping the student to think critically. If you go to we're just focusing on large language models at this time in our talk, but if you go to any large language models, helping the students to understand when, this large language model came about through this paper that's called Paying Attention, giving attention. So when you give attention to something, that is that you put the knowledge on top of it, it guides the learning. So therefore you can structure the student to actually understand better step by step by step.
Yeah.
For instance, I have students and I just tell them to dig deeper. But it's no different than you and I. If you think about what you have learned and what I have learned, it was the aha moments. And then you wonder, how did you actually inquire? What made you inquisitive? Even you're a great communicator. What made you inquisitive about being, this articulate communicator, right?
Sure.
Right? And so it's no different. A student is then, if you give them step by step and start to ask them the deeper questions, oh, well, that's great. But have you thought about this?
Yes.
It kind of guides the exchange.
Yeah,
and
think about the why, not just the answers.
Exactly.
Yes. Right now, there's a subject of political debate at the Capitol over whether or not AI literacy should be required at K through 12 schools. What do you think? Should it be a requirement, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think anything should be required. I think reading, math,
sure.
and some simple things should be required. That's just my personal take. I'm an advisor, so I do, I'm giving you my advice.
Yes.
I think that we should strongly encourage, because AI is not, it's the equivalent to electricity. Right? AI is the new electricity. Back then it was electricity, we're turning it on.
Yeah.
We're there, and AI will disrupt in every part of someone's life. However, when you say required, then every student, it may hit you different ways. We want to strongly encourage that we bring curricula in place that people can see the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And also the harm of it, so that they can want to make sure that students and also adults, because this hits the adult industry as well,
yes.
right?
Oh, sure.
Everyone. I work with businesses that need their low tech or medium tech. And so in order for them to stay in business, guess what? They have to adopt AI. Or they will be obsolete.
You got to catch up. The governor has tasked the steering committee with coming up with ways to improve workforce preparedness and AI literacy. Any ideas on that? How do we get people ready for this new age of AI?
Well, I call it, I recommended we have several things. I went after some research dollars for small businesses, and I went through a Department of Energy program called Phase Zero. And what that does, it level sets. That means you get a hodgepodge of people with an interest, and you ensure that as broad-based as you can, those who are interested in the broadband, that the AI intersect with it. But you've tried to get as broad-based and make sure that that is offered and everyone can come to the table. No matter if you are a techie or if you're a community-based organization or you're a startup, that you have a seat at the table. You could go through a program such as that and then learn a baseline of learning. And from there, you can figure out what it means to you in your world.
So you envision maybe a centralized grant program that small businesses could apply for to kind of upskill their AI capapabilities? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure if it's a grant program.
Okay.
The way the Department of Energy provided, somebody paid for it, because I didn't pay for it. But it offered a way for businesses like mine to be competitive, right? And offered the guidance. How do you do a budget? What does it mean to you? How do you shape your problem statement? How do you respond to these things? It's that type of equal playing field that I would hope that we do institute. As I said before, we want to make sure that every individual and every Arizonian who will go to the workforce at least is AI enabled in their mind and in their hands. And that literally touches the gamut. As we know, logistics has robotics in its plants right now. Amazon is using robotics and the like. Lots of people. Yeah. And we want to make sure that the workforce is prepared for that.
The state is, trying to improve efficiency in government using AI, but I'm sure there are maybe state workers out there who are concerned that this is going to come and replace them potentially. Is that a legitimate concern, and what would you say?
It is real legitimate.
Yeah. Just be real blunt about it, yeah.
It's real.
You got to be real.
It's all the way live. If you're talking about automating and templating something someone has done. But on the flip side of that, oftentimes AI does have it exposes new opportunities and new career paths. What I would say to the worker is anything that is simple and that is routine, AI will probably take that over. And the reason is, if you think about healthcare, healthcare has so many needs, but so few people. If you think about teachers have so many needs and so few people. Yeah. And AI can definitely help in all of those domains. So for the government worker, yes, if you're thinking about, if you're dealing with a lot of paper or even compliance or even the gamut of your job, AI will probably be there to assist, but it may minimize a lot of different people, I would say.
Yeah, you got to be ready for it. I think rather than approaching this era with fear, I think if people approach it with hope and having their eyes wide open, they can be ready and they can really catch the wave at the right time.
Absolutely. I have a whole slide on just that. It's called the stone, the effect of cognitive cognitive dissonance, or when you have a stone in your shoe. I grew up in the country. If you had a rock in your shoe, what do you focus on? That pain,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to be, everything else is blocked out. And so we do have to shift from fear. AI is here. It's no different than any other technology. It is disruptive.
Yeah.
So, but the good thing is we've had technologies like a knife. A knife can be used to cut for surgery, and it can be used to harm people. And it's no different. A long time ago when I lived in Pittsburgh, Watts Humphrey, when software engineering came into play, he said a simple thing: you build software that your life can be dependent on. And so if we just think about that, if your life depended on what is built, I think consideration would be made that is more deeper and more considerate.
Yeah, you got to take this moment seriously and meet the moment. Dr. Loretta Cheeks, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for being on Generation AI.
Thank you.
It was great to meet you.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching Generation AI. We'll be back next week with another episode. You can catch us anytime at AZF Plus, streaming at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. We can also go to azfamily.com/GenAI.